Doesn't it feel like yesterday when the 4090 was released and the whole world went crazy about it, how it would change gaming forever? And now we already have the 5090. We're already in 2025 and people are still searching for how to play GTA 5 on a GT 730. When I got my first GPU, it felt like a year back, though it has been quite a long period of time. It was a GT 610 just to play Far Cry 3, and I guess it was in 2012. And now after like 12 or 13 years later, we're already looking at the RTX 5090. Everywhere you see the word performance is trending, but at what cost? Statistically, by approximation, the RTX 5090 would be around 30% faster than the RTX 4090. And the RTX 5090 comes with 21,760 CUDA cores clocked at 2.01 GHz with a boost clock of 2.4 GHz. It also has 32 GB of GDDR7 memory with a 512-bit wide memory interface, which are good stuff for rich people. It is most likely that there is a new iPhone on the market and people want it, though their previous iPhones are still running well. If you consider the 4K performance of the RTX 4090, someone with that card running a high-end game, probably let's say Cyberpunk 2077, at 4K with ray tracing maxed out settings, easily can get 90 to 100 frames, or even more than that after the optimization fixes. So there is no logical sense in spending that amount of money. We'll talk about the price in a minute, but there is no sense in spending that much on a card that will give you 40 or 50 more FPS on the same settings on the same game. Now, someone may argue that RTX 5090 was made for future games in mind, as they are going to be more demanding. Well, in that case, we'll probably get the RTX 6090 just maybe 2 years after or maybe 3 years after. Now, the marketing. Nvidia has come up with a lot of features for the RTX 5090, including certain AI enhancements and DLSS 4, among other things, but that's not the concern. The big problem is first the price. They're listing the RTX 5090 at $2,000. Not only that, but the card itself needs a whooping 575 watt power. That means even if you want to upgrade and you have let's say a 750 watt or 850 watt power supply, you would need to get an at least 1000 watt power supply at very least to support this GPU. Added to that, the increasing power consumption cost. Though there is the new DLSS 4, which can be a good enhancement considering how much more performance it generates compared to the DLSS 3. Moreover, we have the Reflex 2 releasing alongside the RTX 5090 and 5080 cards. In simple terms, it is designed to bring down the input lag as much as possible for everyone living in some corner of the world and trying to figure out how to run a so-called XYZ game on a GTX 1060 or an AMD RX 580, constantly searching YouTube videos on how to run that damn game on that GPU. It took me 6 to 7 years to finally upgrade my GT 610 to an RTX 960, which wasn't a great card, but it's still better than what I had. Once I got a decent job and saved money for years, I finally got an 3080. Now, after 3 years of using it, I still don't think that I need an upgrade. There's no sense in spending so much at all. Most games runs perfectly with custom settings, and I haven't seen any game drop below 60 FPS unless it is very badly optimized. But regarding the performance of the RTX 5090, there is no concrete evidence on how much of boost you will get unless there is a proper benchmark. Another big challenge would be cooling a 575 watt GPU. So thermal testing result will determine whether you need to upgrade the cooler as well or not. And looking at the power consumption, I'm pretty sure there would be. So in that sense, if you're trying to upgrade your GPU, not only you have to upgrade your GPU, but it will come with a very big cost, power consumption cost, probably a cost of a cooler, and at least a 1000 watt power supply. Still, there are many people on the sideline waiting for it to release to grab it. For many wealthy individuals, the factor of money doesn't come into play and they can buy it easily. Many don't really bother that whether it has 21,000 CUDA cores or 30,000 or whether it has a 32GB VRAM or a 16GB VRAM. They just care about, here's my money, I want the top performance no matter what. But for people of tight budget or empty wallets, they won't bother much right now because it's honestly not needed. For the average gamer, is this level of power even necessary? Let's be real, most AAA games today are still optimized to run hardwares that's probably like 3 to 4 years old. The reason is majority of the games don't have cutting edge setup. Game developers won't stop caring about their primary audience. With your 1660 or a RTX 2070, you can still comfortably run most of the titles at a decent settings. Take for example the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. With the next gen update, even the RTX 3060 can handle it at high settings with ray tracing turned on. Sure, you won't get like a 150 FPS or let's say 200 FPS, but are you really counting individual frames when Geralt is swinging a sword or putting a magic spell? But hey, there's always the other crowd, the one chasing numbers. They're the people who don't just want a GPU, they want the actual power. The kind that they can flex 150 FPS in a game like Cyberpunk 2077 with every graphical setting cranked to the max. They're the same kind of crowd who will tell you that their $2,000 GPU is a long-term investment. But is it actually correct? Calling a GPU a long-term investment is like saying you are using your new phone for the next 15 years. It sounds good in theory, but in practice, not so much. GPU technology evolves at a breakneck pace. What's top of the line today could be a mid-tier in 3-4 years. Remember when the RTX 2080 Ti was the king of GPUs? People spent over $1,000 on it, and now let's say the 3070, a card nearly half of price, match or even outperform it in many scenarios. The same cycle can repeat with the RTX 5090. You may get a 1690, you may get a 1790, you may get an 8090, the list goes on. And comparing with the wealthy people, game developers cannot forget from where their money comes, which is the budget gamers. These are the people who make the most out of their mid-range GPUs, optimize settings and tweaking configurations to squeeze every ounce of performance. They're the ones still rocking the GTX 1060 or an RX 1580, proving that they don't need a $2,000 graphic card in order to enjoy gaming. But let's be honest, the satisfaction of getting a game to run smoothly on older hardware is unmatched. There's a different kind of achievement one doesn't involve in emptying your bank account. Now the only question comes to your mind is that, are you gonna buy an RTX 5090? Do you think it logically make any sense to get one?